guess this is the end of the road for me, but this will pave a new way for you and give you new power. Well, Itachi, now the time has come. Make a new way for yourself with your own hands. You can do it. I know you can. I guess this is the end of the road for me, but this will pave a new way for you and give you new power. Well, Itachi, now the time has come. Make a new way for yourself with your own hands. You can do it. I know you can.
I need a new PC.
I guess this is the end of the road for me, but this will pave a new way for you and give you new power.
God, my God.
Well, Itachi, now the time has come. Make a new way for yourself with your own hands. You can do it. I know you can.
Just give me a second. Oh man, why did I agree? Why did I do overtime? There we go. There we go. Oh man. I'm too tired for this, man. I'm honest. Alright, so yesterday we were doing the CS50 course because I thought, well, if I can't make anything without hours and hours of research, I thought, why don't I do a course? Just so I know the fundamentals and stuff, and I gotta say, it's pretty nice. It's pretty good. Wanna know my problem? You see, I had a problem. I skipped part of it, okay? I skipped part of it, alright? Should have went from the start. I let pride get in the way. And now 145 went, no! I let pride get in the way, okay? So, what am I trying to say? Basically, I'm now having to go through this like I'm supposed to. Again, because I'm an idiot. And I don't have the time. So, I know this title of the stream is a bit misleading, but we are just learning today, and I'm going to bed because I'm too tired. If you wanna watch, watch along. Mute me, mute the stream. If you're actually taking this as a code or study with me or something like that, it's only gonna be for 10 minutes, trust me. So, if you want to, go ahead. But, man, this is the worst stream I've done. Anyways, enough of.
And I'll follow it with parentheses, just like this. Okay, so in a moment, we're going to write a very simple program, and while we do, we're going to think about what a program actually is at the end of the day. So we've seen so far that we have this language called Python, and we can use Python to write programs. And Python itself has all these tools at our disposal to actually write those programs with. So among them are things like conditionals, variables, loops, and in this case, importantly, functions, where a function is some piece of code that kind of takes an input and produces some output. You could think of it kind of like a verb that you can actually run inside of your own program. So here, I'll go ahead and make a program called hello.py, by typing code hello.py, and I'll hit enter, and I'll get this blank Python file. I know because it ends with .py here. And I want to call or use my very first function. And one function built into Python is called the print function, where the print function takes some text as input and produces as output this text in my terminal down below. So I'll type print here, and I'll follow it with parentheses, just like this, and I'll type hello world, like that. So now I've used or called my very first function, print. And maybe afterwards I'll also type print, maybe this is CS50P, like this. So now I have a very simple program, and I've, in this case, used two functions. Now if you're new, you might be asking, how do I know that these are functions? Well, it just so happens that functions have these identifiers you can use to determine when you're actually looking at a function. Now one of these identifiers are these parentheses here. Notice how I called the name of the function, print, and I followed it with parentheses, open and closed here. So when you use or call functions, you're often going to type the name of the function, followed by parentheses, and then some input. Some functions might not even take any input. You can call them a bit like this, print, open, and close parentheses, and that would mean this function doesn't take any input, or in this case, I haven't given it any input on line 3. But I have, of course, on lines 1 and 2. So to give you an idea of what these functions will do, let me go ahead and run the program. I'll type python hello.py down below to run this program top to bottom. So that is, first we'll see the print function will run on line 1, and then on line 2, the second print function will run. So I'll hit enter here, and I should see, hello world, this is CS50P from top to bottom. So we've used these functions, but as a programmer, you might also want to create your own functions. And in particular, you might want to write programs that are composed of individual functions. Now, to define your own function, that is to tell us what code should run when I call or use the function, you can use the keyword called def, D-E-F, where def stands for define. So maybe, because this is the main function, I'm about to write the main function in my program, I could just call it main, def main, like this. And I want to include an open parentheses and a close parentheses followed by a colon. And that then says, I have a new function that I've defined called main that in this case won't take any particular inputs. But now if I want to tell Python, or my program in particular, what code should be run when I use this function, I need to indent those lines of code and put it inside this definition here. So why don't I take these two prints, and put it inside of my function called main. I'll indent both of them and move this back up to the top. And now I have defined, again, a function called main that doesn't take any particular input, but it does run these two functions. First the print on line 2, and then the print on line 3. So now that you've seen how to define a function, you could think about how or who defined the print function for us. Because right now we're saying print hello world, but what does it mean to print? Like, what goes into printing something to the terminal? Well, it just so happens that the Python developers defined what happens in the print function elsewhere in the Python library, which you'll learn more about as we go through the course. But for now, you can just kind of know that you can use this function, print, but somewhere else, somebody before you has defined it and allowed you to use it in this context, just like I've now defined a function called main here. So let me go and run this program now. I'll say python hello.py, hit enter. I don't see anything, which is maybe surprising if you're new, because here I said I'm going to define a function called main, and within that function I want to do the following. I want to print hello world and then print this is CS50P. But in Python, defining a function is different from running it, or this technical term called calling it. So I've defined my function called main, but I haven't called main. And by convention, I can do that using two new lines underneath my definition here, and then calling main. So I'm going to now run whatever I've defined as part of my main function here. I'll type Python hello.py again, hit enter, and now I should see hello world. This is CS50p. Because this program is read top to bottom, it will first define a function called main. It will then say what functions compose that function, which functions should be run when I call this function, and then down below, I finally actually call it on line 6. And so now, in this case, you've seen that my entire program is really kind of a function. As you go off and build new and better programs, you'll see that a lot of what you're doing is just writing things that take inputs and produce outputs, and those things are called functions.
Wow. How long is this? Alright, fine. Why am I going backwards, you may ask? To learn and strengthen my fundamentals. Duh. No, it's because I don't have time to do anything else that's meaningful.
We've seen so far that functions are these building blocks of programs that take input and produce output. Now it turns out, as we look more closely, functions can produce two kinds of outputs. One kind is a return value, and one kind is a side effect. So in this short, we'll look more closely at return values and what they can do to make our programs more flexible as you go off and write more complex programs over time. Now, here I have a function called greet, where greet takes an input, as you can see on line 1. Now, the function does something very simple. It basically asks the question, is hello, this text hello, is that in the input? And if it is, it's going to print on the terminal, hello there, in response. Otherwise, it's going to say, I'm not sure what you mean. So it is, if hello is not in the input, it's going to say, I'm not sure what you're talking about, which is fine. This is a very simple chatbot, if you will. So I'll go down to line 8, and let me try to actually run this function to call it with some input. So I'll type greet down below, and I'll say hello to the computer. I'll say hello, comma, computer. I'll save it, and I'll say Python of greeting.py in my terminal, hit enter, and now I should see hello there, which is really nice. So this is an example of a side effect. I'm seeing something in my terminal. But a return value is slightly different. A return value is some value a function can pass to my program to use later on in my code. And actually, right now, I haven't explicitly said that greet returns anything. To do that, I need to use this keyword called return in Python. So instead of printing here, where printing produces some side effect of text on the screen, let me try returning the actual text. I'll say, why don't I return hello there? And why don't I return I'm not sure what you mean? So with this change, now I've said that greet has an explicitly defined return value. If hello is in the input, the return value will be hello there. If hello is not in the input, the return value will be I'm not sure what you mean. So let's try this again. I'll say Python of greeting.py, and I'll hit enter. And I don't see anything anymore, but that doesn't mean things are broken. So what happens now is that greet is returning some value, but I'm not really capturing it or using it in my program yet. To capture it and to use it later on, I need to make sure I store the return value inside of some variable. And I can do that, let's say, in a variable called greeting. So I'll say greeting equals the result or the return value of calling greet with this input called hello computer. So now, line by line, what will happen is I will first run greet, and I'll give the input hello computer. Hello is in that input, so greet will return to me the value hello there, and it will then store it using this greeting variable and this assignment operator, this equal sign here, inside this variable called greeting. And now I could actually go ahead and print the greeting itself. So on line 9 here, I'll print greeting. Now I'll try this. I'll say Python of greeting.py, and I'll hit enter, and now I see hello there. What if I did something like how's the weather, like this? I'll say Python of greeting.py, And now I see I'm not sure what you mean. So kind of nice. Now I'll say hello computer again, and notice I can take this variable and modify it in all kinds of ways. Before, when I just had these simple print statements in greet, going back to something like this, print hello there, and print I'm not sure what you mean, those were the only things I could print. But now with the return value, I get access to all kinds of ways I could modify the return value later on in my code. Maybe I could do something like this. If maybe I could say, why don't I print not just greeting, but why don't I print something like, and then add the greeting on later. So now everything will begin with, followed by the greeting. So I'll say Python greeting.py, and now it should seem, hello there. Or I could say something like, how's the weather? How's the weather? Now I could say Python greeting.py, and it's a little more thoughtful. I'm not sure what you mean. I could even go further. I could say hello computer again. And why don't I try to have different kinds of greetings? I could say greeting, and then I could say space Carter, just like this. Now I could say Python of greeting.py, and it says, oh, hello there, Carter. Or I could do greeting plus David, and now it says Python greeting.py, and then hello there, David. Or Rungshin. I could type any name after this. I could kind of add on people's names at the end. So as you can see, the value of return value is that it allows us to modify things throughout our code and to use the output of some function later on. A side effect is slightly different. It simply produces some change immediately, whereas a return value you can use throughout our code as you go off and build new programs.
Oh my gosh. What was I doing? So now you're tired. When you forget what the hell you're doing. I got it. Yeah. I don't got it. There you go. There you go. I'm never gonna do overtime again. Never. I was already trying return. Bro, I can't. Oh yeah. that's gonna work. Yeah, I'm gonna shoot myself. Yeah, nice, bro. Good stuff, bro. Good stuff. Good stuff. I'm so tired. So tired. Get this, bro. Blood. Now. Ew. Ooh. This is bad, bad code, bad code. It works, but bad. I don't even remember what I was doing here. I need to pick this back up. Oh yeah, there's Q module and dictionaries. Dictionaries isn't even hard. It's just the stuff that I don't actually know. It'd be long, which I don't have time to even do. But just to make it feel like I've done something before I go Let's shower and sleep. Hi. I'm going to look at my code. No, not Anaconda. No. No. Fuck. Stupid. Whoa. Again. Bro. Yeah, he's cheating. Try again. Yeah. Whoa. Nah, tomorrow I'm gonna actually do something because I have no time tomorrow. Yeah. Yeah. Alright, man, I'm gone, bro. I'm tired. Man, I need to make a plan. Bro, next year I'm gonna be good. I need to prepare for next year, man. Set up a workflow. Alright, I'm sorry the stream is short, but I'm tired. I have work tomorrow. Not many people watch this anyways.